Anyway, a warm welcome to our visitors, special visitors from America, from North America, the Lakota and Ojibwe nations. A special meet of all to 100,000 welcomes in Irish. Brian's Wood is a new woodland planted in the spring of 2019. The first tree and second tree, as I told you, was planted by Úna Walsh. My sister Kathleen and I, along with our dear parents, who are buried a short distance away, both died last year. Along with them, we made the decision to plant 18 acres of our 40-acre farm with native trees because of our passion for nature and the trees in particular. Indeed, the whole concept of An Tobar and Brian's Wood was born out of a natural and deeply ingrained recognition of the necessity of trees and nature in our lives, a recognition that is passed down through the generations of our family. Our ancestors, the Celts, along with all the native cultures on earth, some of whom we are delighted to welcome here today, have always had a deep connection and respect for nature and the land. They depended on it, after all, for their very existence, for food, water, clothing, shelter, and indeed healing. This connection is very strong and evident in native cultures, Maoris, the Aborigines, Native Americans, and indeed ourselves, the Celts. These people are and were deeply connected to the changing of the seasons and the rhythms of the earth, and the fact that this ground and the ground they work is holy ground. This is something that has been lost in modern times. I hear the pheasant calling. They're at their own business. We have lost touch with modern life since the Industrial Revolution. But it's not something that we have to get encyclopedias and relearn. It's in our nature, it's in our DNA. In the overall scale of time, we've only lost it since 1 minute to 12, if you take the 12-hour clock. So it's there, it's within. You don't have to learn about it, you just have to feel it. It's in your genes, it's in your nature. Our daily lives have become bereft of time spent in nature. And while our ancestors and the native peoples recognised that we depended on it, and we depended on it for healing, we always depend on it, and we always will. Here in Brian's Wood, with the aid of the Heritage Lottery funding, we have developed a nature trail and 4 poetry trails running right the way to the top of Carrigan's Hill, just up here behind us. We are here in the Ring of Gullion, recognised area of outstanding natural beauty. We have audio and visual signs right along the way through the woodland, telling you about all the native species and different bits of geography and history and whatever. The aim of all this is not just to offer information, but to deepen our experience and connection as we go along. Nature and the land has many things to teach us. As I was digging the hole for this hazel tree this morning, or hazel bush as we would call it round here, I hit on this lovely fresh oak root, coming from Michael D's tree, full of life. It's a wee bit dried up now, but it was lovely and fresh this morning. This reminded me that in nature everything is connected, and when we do something in nature, then it has a ripple effect on everything beside it. We now know that trees communicate with each other through mycelia in the soil and underground internet. When a tree is not thriving, the other trees will send food through this pathway to help. The lesson here from nature is care and consideration for others. This tree we are planting today is a hazel, an understory tree, found in nature underneath the larger trees, the oaks and the ash throughout Ireland. The lesson? Harmony. Trees live in harmony and a harmonious relationship with each other, but they also have an individual role. Hazel, Corla Zavalana, or Corl in Irish, which means wood, was used by our ancestors for building fencing and huts. When coppiced, it shoots up lovely, long, vertical, straight shoots. And then, of course, it was valued for its nuts, for feeding their animals and for feeding themselves. So here, the lesson, we have provision, cooperation, individuality and harmony. Trees adapt to the seasons. Autumn, they lose their leaves to avoid the harshness of the winters. The evergreens, such as the Scots pine, which is a native, have chemicals in their sap which act as an antifreeze. So here we have the lesson, adaptation. When a tree dies, it returns to the earth to nourish the whole, completing its role and its cycle. So here we have acceptance, the lesson, cooperation with the cycle of life. that it is a natural process that can help us cope when we ourselves are grieving. A dead tree stump is not dead. It is full of life, as are our loved ones when they pass. Their gifts are still bestowed upon us every day if we have eyes to see. And especially remember Mommy and Daddy today, and they worked this field. When they first got married, they planted corn and then had grass in it for years, and now they have trees. Every day I feel so blessed with the time I spend here in nature. The different stages, you can see things change and the trees are getting bigger, more beautiful. The lesson, growth. And perhaps now in this current time, we are finally beginning to revisit, relearn, or reconnect with our ancestors and all the people before us who naturally and inherently knew all these things, these healing effects of the natural world. And my father was delighted at the idea before he died. He wanted to be buried beneath the beech tree. He loved the idea of feeding the tree's roots. And on another wee story, Mommy and Daddy, we would have travelled a lot with them over the years before they got sick. And I remember one time we just disembarked from a cruise ship in Mexico. And it was a huge big ship, and the place was hot and it was lovely. And after a few hours, Mommy was crying. I said, Mommy, what's wrong? She says, it's lovely. I said, isn't it lovely? Look at the size of that ship. She says, it's lovely. But I'd rather be sitting up on the hill, up in my own field. So now I'm getting like her. I'm not too bothered with going away. I just love to sit in my own fields. So very welcome everybody, and I hope you enjoy. I'll hand over to you.
So just to maybe join things up together, you're on Cargan Hill, and Cargan is the name of this townland. Townlands are unique to the island of Ireland. They don't exist in the same way anywhere else across the world. We have 62,205 townlands across this island, which carry with them the heritage, the mythology, the history, the geography of our land. And on the side of Cargan Hill, you are on the turning of the last hill of the Ring of Gullion. Gullion formed 59 million years ago, so brings us back to a story that brings you to America as well, because on the movement of the plates of the earth 59 million years ago, it broke the landmass apart, America going one side, Europe going the other. It opened the Atlantic Ocean and it formed mountains around the world, and it was the formation for us in this area of Gullion. Gullion was volcanic, not a volcano which exploded, but rather it imploded, it pushed downwards, it formed magma pools around the surface of the mountain underneath the earth, and eventually they were pushed up and it formed the ring dyke hills that are the Ring of Gullion. From you leave Camlock until you come here, they're on your right hand side, and here they turn again and they go back around Mullaban Fork Hill. 10 kilometres from Gullion, the most mystic mountain in Ireland, you are on the ring dyke formation of the Ring of Gullion. And I don't think you could celebrate E.E. Russell in a better place than you are this morning, because his nature and his love of nature and his talking of nature is just exemplified here. And I have to pay credit to this family who gave up a business to complete something they wanted, to a vision that they wanted, which was a wellness centre that would celebrate nature and that would look at what nature could give back to especially the young people. And we've had every school in South Armagh and further afield on these hills, running these hills, taking them out of a classroom, taking them to the bottom of the hill and saying, that's it, run, away you go, no restrictions, no hold back, just go. And where Maggie and Kathleen were fixated on the planting of the trees, I suppose when the more we talked, the more we went to our own love of poetry, and that was the beginning of the poetry trails. So we have 4 poetry trails here up the mountain, up the side of the mountain. You can hear the Gaelic poets of South Armagh. You can hear the poetry that takes you back into the mist of times. And one of those trails is entitled Celts and Culture. So we talk about the indigenous people from around the world in the same way as we talk about our Celtic ancestors. And one of the poems that is on a trail of that Celts and Culture is a poem that was an 8th century poem that was translated by Lady Gregory. And it's an anonymous poem, but I know that when I say it and I hear it, that a woman wrote it. I know. When I go by myself to the well of loneliness, and I sit down and I go through my troubles, and I see the world without my buy in it, he who has the amber shade in his hair. It was on that Sunday I gave my love to you, the Sunday that was the last before Easter Sunday, and me on my two knees saying the Passion, and my two eyes giving love to you. My mother said not to be talking to you that day, or tomorrow, or on that Sunday. It was late she took to be telling me that. It was closing the house after it was robbed. You have taken the east from me, you have taken the west from me. You have taken the sun from me, you have taken the moon from me. You have taken what is before me and what is behind me. And my greatest fear, you have taken God from me. And you can hear this as you go round the mountain. So you can come here. This is a wellness centre that celebrates history, that celebrates culture, that celebrates the love of the land and of the people, our people, who walk these lands. So I'm going to finish with something that's very special. And I know it can be difficult for the Finnegan family that are here. But very few people recognise the women down through our history. We didn't write our women out of history, we never wrote them into it. We never considered them in the telling of the stories. We never considered their contribution to the land down through the years and what they did and how they preserved the land. But one person did in the 1940s, Michael J. Murphy, who I suppose we could recognise as the last Druid of South Armagh. Michael J. put on paper his thoughts about the women of this area. And it's entitled Women in the Fields at Spring. She's the woman who wielded her grape of 4 steel prongs to spread dung in the drills, who bent once at every yard of the same drill to drop seed potatoes from the bag briskin tied around her waist and weighted according to the length of the drill with maybe 3 stone each time. She was the woman who came to the head rig with dinner for the field and stayed to work. Sometimes she owned the field, sometimes she was there as a neighbour to give a hand, unbidden except by the edict of communal instinct, and sometimes, like myself, she was working for wages. Narrow-minded old labourers used to advise us, never work for a woman. A woman never knows what's in a day's work. It often seemed to be true, till you remembered her in early spring with pigs, calves and cattle, a new breed of swarming chickens around her feet on top of her housework. And then she found time to cut the seed. In the harsh airs of March, her eyes tired and strained, her limbs stiff and cold, cutting each potato into the heart of her hand with skill and knowledge. Always it was the women who dropped the seed. To have the back for it, the men said evasively, but it was a belief then. You remember her at the job, her fingers all false nails, the skin and cuticle at her nail ends slit and curled back, pained and often bleeding from quick contact of putting each cut seed potato firmly into the dry manure of stable, byre and pigsty. Such is the woman as I remember her. Always valiant, rarely complaining, often the backbones and brain of men on the land, guardian and guide of the tillage field. Never work for a woman. She doesn't know what's in a day's work. And we did that specially to Kathleen and Margaret and Eddie's mommy, who worked these fields, and the generations of the Muckian family who worked them before her.
So if you could give me the wee beat there. Da, da, da. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Thank you. Lovely, that was gorgeous. Thank you very much.
Hami taku yepi. Ampetakin wasi, chante washte na pechus apie. Ramona Kitto Stately amaki apie, damakota. Didakota ia iupseyu sewi, nieye. Isayanti hetia tahawa hie, takawana shakpe edwati. Hello, my relatives. In our general hello, we say Hami taku yepi, and in the Dakota language, that means I am related to everything that has life. And when you grow up and learn that that is a general greeting to people, we are being inclusive of these medicines and these plants and animals that sustain us. And we know we are the newest life beings on this earth. Everything else knows how to live. And human beings, we have to be taught how to live. We have to be fed, right? We have to be nurtured in order to survive in this place. But these beautiful relatives, these trees and these plants, they sustain us. They have everything that we need to live, and it's on top of the earth. We don't ever need to dig into it to find resources and things like that. Everything we need is right here. And thank you, Una, for talking about the power of our women. That's why we call her our Mother Earth. And there is a great, beautiful balance. But when we talk about motherhood and our women for Dakota people, we're the matriarchs. And it makes sense because our grandmothers carry the seeds of their grandchildren. So they carry the eggs of their grandchildren. And so we look to our elders, we look to our women to make the decisions. And especially to our elder women, because if they make a decision that is not good for the people or that harms the people, they have the most to lose, don't they? And so I love that you're celebrating the women and acknowledging the women, because sometimes when we're talking to our students, we'll say, how many of you moms in the family really makes the decisions? They're all like, yep, our moms really do. So we kind of know that, we just don't acknowledge it out loud. But thank you to that. And we have a word for our elder women in our language. It is Murchaidh, the fully blossomed. A woman that is fully blossomed at her prime is in that elder age and willing to show us all the different parts of life from birth to death. So thank you for that. These trees, these medicines, these are such amazing, beautiful ways of knowing that we have forgotten or we've turned our back on. In our homeland in Minnesota, the Dakota have been there 14,000 years. And the first thing that happened upon colonization, which is only 180 years or 160 years in Minnesota, is they clear cut the white pine. And that was the tree that sustained an entire ecosystem. And it was just clear cut, gone. And so we say not only did genocide happen where we came from, but omnicide. It drove away the wolves and the moose and all of the things that are sustained by those big, huge, beautiful trees. So I am so honored and grateful to be here. and especially a place where you're reminding us all and reminding everyone with that blood memory that you talk about. It's in our DNA. And just to be on the land, this land carries a memory and is happy that we're here and we're acknowledging the importance of these beautiful trees. So just in all gratitude, thank you for inviting us, and thank you to all of you for allowing us to have this experience. Wopida, you make me grateful.
Yeah, the birds agree. They're
I know, you hear that?
giving you a shout out.
Do you want to do the three, Réamonn? Fergal. Bridget, Marianne, anyone that's involved with the Russell Festival. You can hear before there were some other things in the last couple of years. Well, there is dispute in many different areas about it, but the Ballymona Feta is one of the great roads of An Tobar, and it's that camp that comes right through here and out the back of Hazel.
I'm just going to read a couple of words from A.E. Russell, a mystic, a poet, a painter, an economist, a philosopher. This is from his novel, The Interpreters, from 1922. It's a celebration of the spirit of nature, the spirit of earth. Just a short reading. But as I lay on the hillside, I was no longer solitary, but smitten through and through with another being, and I knew it was the earth, and it was living, and its light was mingling with my own. So I have brought, with my colleague and friend and brother, Réamonn Ó Ciaráin, who's also the co-director of the Spring School, along with Fergal O'Brien. We're the three co-directors of this inaugural A.E. Russell Spring School. We've brought water from the source of the Mississippi, mingled with water from the source of the Shannon River, from the Shannon Pot in Ireland. So water from the longest river in America and the longest river in Ireland. And we call this, and you have to forgive the name, but we love the name, we call this Shannonippy. This is our Shannonippy water. So the source water of creativity, of goodness, of all that is best in America, all that is best in Ireland. And we're going to sprinkle a little bit on the roots of this hazel tree. And then I'll turn it over to Réamonn to say Cúpla focal a Scuelga con Réabhrá Dhéanamh. So on Ishka, Shannonippy.
Gur céad maigad a fádrig agus a chairde go léir chuirinte ola Murchaidh a bheith an seo san áit speisialta. Is as ardmhaithe has me héan ó Bhuachas agus seo an chéad úrdú a bheith ag Tobar CIC agus tá me ansona maithiam amhlas go raibh mé an seo a ribh. And of course, A.E. Russell believed that the earth extended its consciousness into humankind, which is of course what happened. And it's highly appropriate that the Finnegans are healers, because Crochar MacNeas's personal healer was Finnegan, and one of his abilities was to detect from the smoke coming out from the dwellings what ailment was afflicting the people in that particular dwelling. So Mahiam an Leas an Shaw I Machantar Dúchas in Yeshgart Ardwaha agus Chreid A.E. Russell Nismo na Dinner Be Ella Goro on Wahar on War Wahar Heart Chimple Orin Galiar agus Mahian Wedge on Wahar War Heart Chimple Orin an Shaw and you Gurkid Maigaf.